Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Jordan says in the YouTube comment section, where can I cash my over on 10:06 a.m. Central Time? You can cash it at Casino de Judd.
There was some business talk.
There was some business
You know
talk.
what? The boys have been off for a few days. I, of course, was back yesterday with my friends AJ and Thor. There was some business talk, or we would have been right on time. Except for Patrick ran a little bit long, too, because he was upset.
We were locked in. We were here like in position at 10:01, so we were still kind of late. But yeah, you know, with the new year starting, the two biggest regular season games in recent memory, you know, we're trying to get a bunch of ducks in the row here. Old Macadac was traveling for a few days. And
I just saw a note back to full strength from Nate. Nathaniel Stay, it looks like. Let me tell you right now, yesterday, our guy Thor Nystrom came on. I asked him one question about the college football playoff, and he starts dropping scoops. This is a credible threat
to
our guy
Coy Parrott stuff. Yeah,
and he is the first guy to make clear that Kelly McManus was not kicked out by Fleck. He was not told that you're going to compete. Evidently, Kelly McManus said, "I want more money," and Fleck's like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks. We'll look into that."
I'd like to hear all sides of that one because it kind of felt like maybe there's shades of truth on both.
Well, don't forget
angles.
This was a reckless speculation Thursday, but I give our guy Thor a lot of credit. He brought it yesterday. He was throwing high heaters on the show.
So we're always at full strength, is what you're saying. Whether it's Thor,
got a lot of great people
age
in the stable. That's what I'm saying.
Before we get to Feedback Friday here and get through just a bunch of your questions and takes, let's journey over to Butcher and the Boar here, Judd. Let's start our weekend off with some meat sweats.
Oh man, absolutely. In fact, let's go to the North Loop.
Football.
Declan's old stomping grounds.
Yep.
And let's stop at, as Phil just said, the Butcher in the Boar, a gathering space for Southern-style hospitality, great for family and business gatherings. Let's talk about Thursday nights at Butcher and the Boar in particular, okay?
Thursday nights, yeah.
Thursday nights are prime rib nights, okay? What more could you possibly want? Wedge salad, lobster mac and cheese, loaded baked potato, an ice cream sundae, a huge meal that could be fit for two, or an offensive line of at least one. Absolutely delicious, served until sold out. Happy hour each day from 4 to 6. Butcher and the Boar, also brunch on weekends. Check them out. Absolutely delicious.
All right, big deal here, chastising Declan for a misspelling on the thumbnail here. Super bow.
Super Bowl.
It's okay.
He missed an L. I don't really think that's that's just a miss.
So
it should be actually Super Bowl with 4 L's if it's the Vikings we're talking about.
Oh, wow.
Why? Why you gotta do that?
We can be
Why
self-deprecating. So, all right, let's start with this one from Ann Keene via the Score North app. I wrote in 2 weeks ago, and now I have to ask again. We talked so much about the offense. You guys have been focused so much on Sam Darnold. My concern right now is the defense. And maybe because we're just so close to the playoffs, my fears are growing. We have an older defense in regards to leaders. Sam can score in a minute. We know that, but we're thin at quarterback. I mentioned Patrick Peterson. Is he still available, by the way, for like fresh legs on a third down?
He's out of work. Yes, he's out of work.
Yeah, he has not been like rostered on a practice squad. Okay.
Yeah, no, podcaster.
I just see our defense getting gassed. Look at the Lions. Comfort on defense is needed, please. So are you panicking at all about the defense in recent weeks?
Well, considering Detroit has 16 players on that side of the football out for the season, and that's
what she's saying is like the defense is going to derail Detroit. I mean, injuries aren't derailing the Vikings defense.
Right. And that the Vikings, though, have, it looks like Harrison Smith is coming back on Sunday. Ivan Pace back. Knock on wood, generally in very good shape. Am I that concerned? Not really. No, because I think that the Vikings, ultimately, I have enough faith that a couple things, too. Brian Flores won. Brian Flores comes up with pretty damn good specific game plans. And I know what the concern is here. But the other thing is this. At the end of the day, when you're playing a team, can the quarterback get comfortable? And the answer with Van Jinkels, Grenard, Dallas Turner starting to play well is no. So, like, do I have this great fear that the defense is going to melt down and cost you a game? Now, if you're looking for a shutout, yeah, you're not going to get that. But no, I don't have a great fear. I do think Sunday's game against the Packers is going to be very enlightening because we're about to find out what the fourth-ranked run game in the entire league, Green Bay, with Josh Jacobs, who's just a bell cow workhorse, does against a defense that, keep in mind, is number 2 in the league against the run and is getting pace back.
Pace coming back is massive.
Yeah. And look, if you're in a playoff game, you are going to have to score points. Darnold is going to have to play really well. There's no question about that. But do I think that the defense at the end of the day is going to cost you? No. I don't think that they're going to like single-handedly melt down and cost you a game.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I would say a couple things on this. This is not necessarily an elite yardage defense. We've seen some of those in Vikings history.
Sure.
Where you get all of it. You get the scoring defense, you get the turnovers, you get the yardage defense. And we've probably seen variations where the yardage defense is pretty good, but they can never get a takeaway. There was periods there throughout the 2000s.
Sure.
So yeah, this is not a team that is impossible to move the ball against. Between the 20s, you can move the ball. There's going to be games where this defense gives up 350 or 375 or 400 yards, but they only give up 17 points or 20 points because they generated 3 takeaways. So I would just amend this to say you should only be worried if they aren't taking the ball away. And taking the ball away, there's some luck layered in there, right? Like a ball hits the ground. Do you recover it? Get pressure on a quarterback. Does he freak out and throw a pass that's wobbly or something, right? Are you hitting a quarterback at the time? There's so many variables to generating turnovers. And this defense is really reliant on getting 2 or 3 turnovers a game. And you can't guarantee that that's going to be there all throughout the playoffs. So I'm not concerned about the defense, but I will acknowledge the variance involved in a high turnover defense being like the core reason why you are holding teams under 20 points per game.
Of all the things, if you were to give me a checklist and say, okay, here's the one thing that's not going to be great, I think 10 out of 10 times we say give up yards. That's fine. Like if you have the Vikings right now are second in the entire league, 1 behind Pittsburgh. They have taken the ball away 30 times, including 22 by picks. The Vikings have done a very good job scoring defense-wise. They are third, 18.4 points per game, okay? So, like, if you were to come to me in July and say, here's a list of things that they're going to do well, but there's going to be one drawback, and the drawback's going to be that they give up yards at times. I'm taking that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to have all of the factors, but they don't. And
Sure.
they weren't expected to be, I think, a top 3 defense.
No, they were given the 6.5 in part. Like, Darnold was 1, 2, and 3. I think 4 was, everyone was like, oh, this
they traded to get rid of
defense is
Hunter.
gonna-
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't going to be that good of defense. And if you go back, you guys, that's the one thing that we told people. No, we actually think the defense is going to be fine, given Brian Flores' history.
Tosh Metler chimes in, says, hey, hope this message finds you well.
No question it does.
Thank you, Tosh. The Vikings, in my opinion, have struck lightning in a bottle. My worry, though, is that if we lose to the Packers, it could shut us down against the Lions. So I'm just curious what your take is if we end up losing these last 2 weeks going into the playoffs. By the way, they're underdogs right now against the Packers.
Yeah.
And if that game matters against Detroit, which if they lose to the Packers and the Lions win, that game will not matter. But there's a chance they could be, like right now, they are underdogs in both those games.
Sure.
He says, what if we lose the last 2 games heading into the playoffs? Love the show. Appreciate you guys. Happy holidays from South Dakota.
What if
We're
lose?
just bracing for a little worst case scenario here.
Yeah. Well, if they lose the last 2 games, and then if the Packers, clearly would win on Sunday, and then would win in Week 18, that means the Packers pass the Vikings. The Vikings then probably get the 6th seed.
And then you're playing at maybe the Rams instead of Buccaneers?
Yeah. I mean, yes. If they lose the last 2 games and don't look good, then yes, I think that the narrative and the feeling changes completely. And I gotta admit though, I am a little bit surprised that they are underdogs now here on Sunday. Like pick 'em, I can totally take. I think the Vikings started out as like favorites of 1 point, a little more than 1 point, something like that. But I am surprised. And look, Vegas, like the money ordinarily knows what it's doing, but I can't find a really compelling reason why it wouldn't be at least a pick 'em.
Well, I think Packer fans, if you've interacted with them on the internet the last few weeks, would have plenty of reasons. And for as much as we laud this Vikings defense, the Packers are right there, either next to or even above the Vikings in most defensive categories. Like the Vikings though, the turnovers, right? The Vikings are second in turnover percentage. The Packers are third defensively. Mm-hmm. The Packers, in terms of average net yards per attempt, passing defense, Vikings are top 3, Packers are top 5. So the defenses wash out more than people think. Offensively, Packers have the far superior running game. So then really so if it's defenses wash out, Packers far superior running game, is the Vikings passing attack that much higher end than the Packers? I think it's better.
Well,
but you could make a very strong case that right now the Packers are right there, if not playing better than the Vikings the last 5 to 6.
Oh, they're playing great. What would swing me to pick them is Jair Alexander not going to play again. Absolutely, the guy who would tip the scales in their favor going against Jefferson, but he's not playing.
Yep.
So that's the one thing that, like, it just strikes me as a 100% pick 'em game. And so I'm a little bit surprised that they can get to a point where Green Bay has taken control as the favorite. That's it.
I'm going to give you a mental trick here, okay, Vikings fans. And there's some younger viewers and listeners of this show that maybe certainly haven't been through the 70s heartache that the old school OG fans, I was born in the 80s, Declan was born after that. But even like 98, 09, here's what I would do. I would mentally prepare yourself for last week having been the last victory of the season for the Vikings. In every game going forward, they're underdogs. Like, forget about the record. They're underdogs this week against the Packers. Look at every sports book. Then the vaunted Lions, like, underdog again. And then possibly a road playoff game, traveling time zones. You know, if you flip it that way, it's all gravy from this point forward. You've already accepted the fact that, they're probably gonna lose, right? And then they'll pleasantly surprise you if they make a run here. If you're expecting them to go to the Super Bowl through this gauntlet here, feel like you're setting yourself up. That's on you. That's your problem.
I think that it's a very good expectation that they can win Sunday. Detroit's a little bit different because it's there, but I will say this: the Lions have gotten these last 2 games. So the one that they just won, and then on next Monday against San Francisco, that's a very nice little cakewalk through to, the Chicago Bears, who don't give a damn. Like, they clearly just don't care. They're so checked out. And then San Fran, which when originally scheduled, this Monday night game looked like a great game. And now it's like San Francisco's eliminated from playoff contention, beat to hell. So Detroit got a little bit of a break here, just in the fact that 2 teams that I think the league thought were going to be far more representative are not.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell was asked, hey, if the Vikings beat the Packers, it would essentially render the Lions-Niners game pointless, because even if the Lions were to lose that game and fall a game behind the Vikings, Week 18 would be for the division anyways, because if the Lions were to win the game, tie the Vikings, they'd have the tiebreaker.
Sure.
And so you say, hey, if the Vikings lose on Sunday, would you then consider just resting guys against the 49ers? Which, by the way, they should. Build in a second bye week for a game that doesn't mean anything.
Dan don't play
and
that
he
game.
Essentially said, how dare you ask a question like that?
Yes.
My football team is pedal to the metal every single week, which is incredibly stupid for an 18-week schedule which you have burned out your entire defense with injuries.
But this is it. This is why, if you are a fan of the Vikings or Packers, you're delighted. Because Dan Campbell is going to drive this plane right into the ground at the worst possible time.
Mogul 1963. Mackie, stop being soft. I don't know if you're talking about me bracing for the Vikings to lose.
I think he's talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, if you're the Lions, strategically, this is a long season. You've already had your bye week. If the Vikings win, they are doing you a favor. Rest for a week. If not,
well,
boy.
And let's just say this. If they play the Vikings, so if they decide with the division clinched, so they're perfectly set. We're going balls to the wall in Week 18. And Jared Goff, tell me a defensive player's not going to just land on him a little bit harder.
Oh, Jim Schwartz giving the pregame
I'm going
speech
a little bit.
Oops, I dropped $100.
KO will know nothing about this.
$100
But are you telling me? But are you telling me in that defensive conference room you won't say, "Hey, if you got a shot, take the shot"?
Yeah. There's another $100 bill.
Oh, Jared
where
Goff,
are these coming from? It's crazy.
Jared Goff's
Let's just put them in a pile
playoffs?
over here.
Oh, this is so. Teddy Bridgewater leading the Lions to a Super Bowl.
I'm actually worried about the Teddy locker room chemistry morale boost that the Lions are getting here. I was kind of hoping the Vikings would get that.
You're more worried than I am.
Greg Ewing Lee says, "Hey guys, with the establishment of the Kevin O'Connell Quarterback Rehabilitation Center at Twin Cities Orthopedic Performance Center,
very costly.
I'm wondering who would you say should be the next 5 quarterbacks on the waiting list to get admitted? So Daniel Jones is in.
Yep.
Who should the next 5?
Oh, I love this.
Quarterback rehab applicants be?
If I can get there, how about Zach Wilson? Forgotten about completely.
He's interesting.
Was seen as a pro. I have no idea if that kid can be good, but I'm just saying if you're asking for some guys who are candidates to think KO can save me.
He's interesting. Is Anthony Richardson salvageable, or is he just not accurate enough?
Well, he'd be good though, just to find out. KO liked him a lot. The Vikings actually liked him a lot in that draft. So yes, he would definitely be a candidate for that.
What about Will Levis? Is he too
No,
weird?
KO's out on him.
Yeah,
no,
because
he
they
didn't
had
want him.
several chances to draft him.
Yeah, he didn't want him.
Justin Fields. I could see Justin Fields. He's a free agent, right?
Yeah.
He didn't showcase enough to come in and make a bunch of money and be a starter. But there's some mobility. He's got an arm.
Jimmy G?
No, he's too old for
35, right?
He's too old for it now.
You know, okay. In the Jimmy G slot,
here.
if we're going to carve out like would there be like a senior exemption? So instead of just guys in their 20s.
I think
I would put, not Jimmy G, I would put Carson Wentz in that slot. Because he's a little younger. He's like in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And you're always kind of wondering, man, that dude
But
was an
he's in
MVP
KC.
candidate.
Like he's in a pretty good backup in KC is a pretty good place to learn.
I don't think it's the same as the Kevin O'Connell quarterback rehabilitation. I think you're sitting there. It's nice to have a job in Kansas City. They're not spending time rehabilitating your career as a backup in Kansas City.
I'm just saying that's not a bad place. That's not a bad place. I feel like the old people should just go and be in their own corner and stay away from the young kids that can come here.
Mac
Trey
Jones
Lance has been
Trey Lance
suggested like 8 times so far in the comments. We got a bunch of Trey Lances.
Does it worry you though that he's so buried? Like there's not even any buzz about.
But I mean, he could be. So is the program complete if you are Darnold, which is off the charts, MVP talk, right? Or is the program just complete if you come here, rehabilitate your quarterbacking, and then go elsewhere and get a shot? Like what's the bar for the completion of the program?
Well, I think there's 2 levels of the program. There's the entry level, come on in here and be the backup and just sort of chill. Like Daniel Jones has an entry level spot, right? We're not going to ask you to actually go and do anything. Just chill, put the headset on. But then there's like Sam Darnold was just given the keys to drive the car for.
Right.
So Darnold kind of went through like entry level quarterback rehab with Kyle Shanahan, right?
Right.
He sat for a year and now he has graduated to the 2000 level class or something. Mm-hmm. So there's different stages to this. And
KO is definitely gets the call though. Like he clearly is accepting and or rejecting guys too. So like you can't just get in.
What about Kenny Pickett, former first round pick? Led the Eagles to a victory.
Him. I don't know if KO would like. I don't know. That's a good question on him.
I'd probably put him below Justin Fields.
I was gonna say, is there a lot there on Kenny Pickett?
I don't know. it doesn't
They're
have a
like-
big arm.
25 touchdowns and 50 starts with the Steelers. It was absurdly low. Absurdly low.
Yeah, I think he might be rejected.
Christian Augustine says, I got to say, I'm really concerned for JJ McCarthy next year if we decide to let Sam go. And not because I think he'll be bad, but because more than likely, JJ McCarthy won't start his career and be immediately as good as Sam Darnold has been. Which, if that sentence were uttered back 6 months ago, would sound absolutely insane. And you'd be really worried about JJ McCarthy's future. Boy, he might not be as good as Sam
Is he a
Darnold right away.
flop? You're right.
Yeah. I just don't want fans to turn their back on McCarthy and the second he plays poorly early start to say, hey, we want Sam back. We made a mistake, or have him lose his confidence. He has superstar potential, but if he can't immediately play as well as Darnold has this year, I feel fans will immediately result to wishing for Sam Darnold to return and for JJ to lose his mojo.
I'm not concerned about that. Like,
which part?
JJ might have some bumps. I'm not concerned that it's going to be like if let's say within the first 4 games, JJ has an off day, okay? I think that they'll be able to guard against. Oh my God, Darnold was the best the best QB of all time. And keep in mind too, you guys, Sam Darnold threw 5 picks in 2 games. Like every quarterback goes through that. I don't fear that. The only concern I would have is if I told you my sense is JJ McCarthy is so mentally weak that would break him. Like 2 bad games, they're talking Darnold, and now he's like, oh my God, what have I done? Why am I a quarterback? I don't see that. So like I think we have to accept, or I think we have to rethink this whole thing just a little bit, okay? The quarterback mentality inside TCO Performance Center is so different now. Like we've grown used to problems there, right? They can't find one. They find one. That guy comes back and struggles, which we've seen before. There's not really a developmental program there. Like, I understand this. We are so used to the status quo being dysfunction. Well, first of all, at times with the entire team, but certainly at quarterback, I don't fear that McCarthy would allow the outside noise, and O'Connell certainly would not, to cause a problem.
I do fully believe that it will be hard for JJ McCarthy to throw for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, have 12 games of a passer rating over 100, and be hunting down the field with as much success as Sam Darnold. I think it is reasonable to say you are unlikely to get this type of season in year 1 of JJ McCarthy starting, but that's where you have to be. You get into this area as fans and idiots like us on microphones, or more importantly, the Vikings front office. This move isn't just for linear progression into 2025. It's for like a 3 to 5 year period where McCarthy costs nothing. You can build a roster, open up a window. And it kind of leads into this next question from Adam. He says, hey, hope you guys had a great holiday season. Thank you for all the content you put out. I have a suggestion for a show that might be worth considering. Is the quarterback landscape about to undergo a massive shift with players like Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, who are good but not franchise carriers, getting paid unbelievable amounts of money, and the next quarterback seemingly always getting paid what they want after that guy and resetting the market? Are teams going to look at the Vikings, Seahawks, Buccaneers and reconsider? Are we going to start to see teams stop acquiescing to big quarterback contracts? Because, like, what would you rather, like, what gives you a better chance to win? Dak Prescott for $60 million and a thin roster? Or maybe a slight step back at quarterback, but resources to build a football team of 53 guys?
So we talked about this on Thursday yesterday. First of all, I got a question. Why is the Cincinnati Bengals defense so bad? Because they had to spend on their quarterbacks. And they also have to then spend on at least one of 2 wide receivers. And once you start to spread that thin, guess what happens? Your defense is bad, not because your coordinator suddenly is a moron, but because you can't spend there. How good are the Minnesota Vikings if they had written out Darnold a check right now for what he's going to get, or possibly more? Like, put Kirk back here. You paid Kirk. You don't have Grenard. You don't have Cashman. You don't have Van Jinkels. You might have,
but you got 9 wins or 8.
but you might have one of them. But the point is, this is the thing too. Here's another question for you. 2025. Forget McCarthy. Let's just say Darnold is back. Do you expect him to put up the same statistics, the same mind-blowing, mind-boggling statistics that he's putting up right now?
I would say if Darnold comes back to this Vikings offensive infrastructure, we can talk about what that contract will do to the next 3 years of roster building. Mm-hmm. I would expect him to throw for 4,000 yards again, for 28. Like, I don't think this is a magic carpet ride. He's not turning into a pumpkin with this infrastructure. Do you disagree? Like, if you brought him back with Jefferson, Addison, KOC, he's not going to just go back to Jet Sam Darnold.
No, but he very well could not have the exact same type of success. If the numbers fall off, I would not be shocked. But yes, I think he'd be fine. But the point is, if we expect this to be him now, like if we expect that he has gone from this broken quarterback to a guy who is in the MVP conversation, do I expect that in 25, in 26? Not necessarily. Like, that doesn't mean he's broken again. That doesn't mean he's bad. But I mean, this has been a phenomenal year, and I think that we have to accept that this does not necessarily establish the norm, because this is outstanding. The other thing too is, to answer the question, I think what we are seeing now, and this is not just a KO thing. This is started before him, and I think it's been driven home here because we're seeing it. But I think this goes back to the conversation of, this is why it's so important to find the right coach who's probably really good with quarterbacks, because there's no salary cap on that guy.
Is there a world, and I scrolled past it, so I wish I could pop this up on the screen here. Let me see.
In a world where quarterbacks dominate the landscape.
Here it is, from Jerry Straka. Mackie, we have a Super Bowl roster now.
I love you.
Now, because I'm talking about 3-5 year windows here.
Sure.
So, right now the Vikings are one of the 5 most likely teams to win this year's Super Bowl. So they have Sam Darnold playing at this level. So, okay, go do it then. Go do it now, and that would be awesome. That would be great.
Decision.
Yep.
Okay.
But if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, we're going to look and investigate, okay, why didn't they win it? What needs to be better? I think we would all agree, like, boy, it'd be nice to have a more reliable interior offensive line. Your cornerback situation, that might wind up being something that gets carved up by a Jared Goff or whoever in the playoffs, right? So then the question becomes, okay, can you sign Sam? Let's say it is now urgent. 2025 is the year after how close they got.
Yep.
Sorry, JJ.
Yep.
Just give Sam the bag, figure out the rest later, and use some of the remaining flexibility, because they do have a bunch of cap space to get a guard and a cornerback and then go, right? That is a conversation they are probably having inside the walls of TCO Performance Center that they weren't having 6 months ago, based on how well Sam Darnold has played. That should we be looking at an all-in 2025 situation? Do we trust Sam? By the way, you could do a contract for Sam that does not have a huge cap hit for 2025. You could throw that money into future seasons.
Yeah.
So you could open up like a 1 or a 2 year window with a 27, 28-year-old Sam Darnold, if you thought you could also add a piece or two, and then you just kind of you shrug at JJ McCarthy and be like, bro, we didn't think this was going to happen, but here we are.
So when it comes to Kwesi and KO, here, my opinion is that these two guys have plans. Like, I think they definitely have plans. And they don't talk about their plans, but they got them, okay? So here's my problem. We're acting like this success is going to change everything. And first of all, the book's not done yet. Like, the most important chapters are to be written. If these guys go out in the first round and lay an egg, that changes this entire discussion. So, like, let's see what playoff Vikings look like, first of all. Because that, if they go out quick, then that's going to alter everything. But the other thing is, they had a very distinct, clear plan. And Kevin O'Connell, I don't know if he's going to hyperventilate now and say, we got to give Sam the bag because I fixed him and I don't know that I could. This dude's entirely more confident than anyone knows. And I think he comes across as confident, to the public. So he has a plan for McCarthy. And I told Thor this too. You know, the other thing we're entirely like sleeping on, like it's a fun thing to talk about and we've discussed it, but I think we're sleeping on now a very simple question. Why is Daniel Jones here? Like, what's that relationship? Like, they brought in a guy who could have gone elsewhere and started, and he picked here. I know why he picked here, but why did they pick him? We're talking about a coach that clearly has the confidence that this is his specialty in life. It's his calling. Like, I'm not joking. And so the Darnold conversation keeps coming back to, but what if Sam goes somewhere else? What if that means that O'Connell's questioning himself. And so that's where I think it's very important to slow down and say, are they going to deviate from their plan entirely if Darnold does not come back at their price point? Because if Darnold comes back at their price point, and Phil, quite frankly, I think you're right. I think they're going to franchise him. I think they're going to look to trade him to a team that he wants to go to.
Yep,
and I think that team is going to come to a long-term contract with Sam, and it's going to have been a great 1-year stand.
Yeah, I agree that franchising him and franchise tagging him and then trading him is the leader in the clubhouse right now. And just to be clear, I believe JJ McCarthy will and right now, as of today, going into this Packers game, will and should be the starting quarterback in 2025. But I feel like as the number one Vikings podcast on the planet and community, like even if we think that, we should explore all possible angles, just like we did for years with the Kirk Cousins situation. I think we can explore and turn over these rocks. And okay, let's look at the new information presented. By the way, Adam Turner says we just suffered 6 years of cap hell paying a non-elite quarterback, and people want to go back to it the second someone throws for 4,000 yards. I would to sort of play both sides of the fence here. He's right, and you have to be careful about that. But when the Vikings signed Cousins the first time and paid him, they overpaid him the first time. It was the first fully guaranteed quarterback contract in NFL history. And he was not necessarily the deserving pioneer for that new precedent, right? But they had their roster in place and some extra flexibility with the cap because they did a great job building something, and they plopped what they thought was the final piece on top of this thing, and it wasn't, for all the reasons we've litigated for 6 years. But I think it was the right decision. Like, yeah, let's make one final push at this position, just like we did with Brett Favre a few years before that, right? Or 8 years before that. Mm-hmm. If you decided with Sam, we have a near Super Bowl roster, and we don't care about 5 years from now anymore. We only care about 2025. If you only cared about 2025, like the Vikings only cared at the time about 2018, Sam is more likely to play better than JJ in 2025. And that is a worthwhile discussion.
It absolutely is. And what I'm telling you is I don't think these guys think like that. I don't think that they would ever say, like Spielman panicked because he's like, I can't find a quarterback. I'm going to go sign. And keep in mind, Kirk was a free agent in a league where ordinarily that never happens. And we as we subsequently learned, there was reasons for that. But these guys, I don't see them having that panic of, oh my God, we can win a Super Bowl next year, and unless the Wilfs literally came to them and said, sign Sam Darnold. That's the edict. I think that the way that O'Connell and Kwesi work is very much we have, on a spreadsheet, we have a plan right now through let's say 2030. And it's going to take a lot for us to go away from that plan. I think Darnold is franchise tagged and traded. I think there is a better chance if JJ McCarthy is either not prepared mentally or health-wise to start next season. I think there's a better chance that Daniel Jones is your opening day QB here than Sam Darnold.
That'd be a fun write that down prediction.
That would be if that all came to pass, that would be the biggest touchdown pass of touchdown passes.
Oh. Okay, someone wrote in here with some criticism of Judd and Thor from yesterday. Oh, no. And we'll get into some other stuff here. But a shout out to Federated Insurance on this Feedback Friday as we head into the new year. If you're looking for just a better offensive line to protect your business, so to speak, Federated Insurance is here to help you in that regard. So While you focus on growing your business, they are focused on safety, preventing claims, and risk management. History dating back to 1904, Owatonna, Minnesota. They now have 50 states worth of representation. So if you're a business owner in Minnesota or outside the state of Minnesota, federatedinsurance.com to find out more information. At Federated, it's our business to protect yours. And Nicolay Law, the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. They know that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop. And that's where you need a guiding hand, a Russell Nicolay or someone on his team to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay, nicolaylaw.com, or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. Okay, here it is. So this is from Chris Burke, who recently wrote in and reminded you, Judd, that he thought your Darnold would have been benched at 5-0 take was the most asinine thing he's ever heard on the show, and you guys sparred back and forth.
We did. It was great stuff.
With that said, it continues to amaze me that Thor and others, including Judd, refuse to acknowledge that Darnold might now very well be the Vikings quarterback of the present and the future. When presented with new information or circumstances, intelligent people consider the information, evaluate it, and are open to adjusting their pre-existing opinions or beliefs. Darnold is 27, playing at a top 5 MVP level with elite skills and elite draft pedigree as a former top 3 pick. Mm-hmm. His production is ridiculous, so are his physical traits. If people don't consider this new Darnold as the possible franchise quarterback, they're really no different than the Kirk Crusaders were, stubborn. As an example, I thought Kwesi was a terrible general manager based on his drafts, and he should have been fired. However, I've been presented with new information, namely the incredible 2024 free agent class. If I still said Kwesi should be fired, as I previously had thought, I'd just be an idiot. If you can't be open to a new belief based on new information or evidence, you're no different than a Kirk Crusader. You are a McCarthy mule, is what you are.
Mule McCarthy mule.
Oh, man. Your response to Chris.
My response to Chris is this. What's the price point on Darnold? I just said if he comes back for what the Vikings want, then he might be back. But I don't think that's the plan. And the other problem is this, Chris. I'm going to tell you this right now, okay? Reaction to one season when you have confidence in your plan often is a very bad idea. I'll take you back to the old 2009 to 10 Vikings. When at the time I thought, oh, they're going to run it back. This is going to be awesome. Great idea to run the whole thing back. Bring everybody back because it'll be fun. And you know what? I was totally wrong. The lesson learned, Chris, and this is the thing, is I'm guessing that you're not sports dad's age yet. So you're still trying to make your way through life and learn. And I'm going to teach you a lesson right now. The lesson in football is,
sit down, son.
If you just decide, okay, I've got new information, and so I'm going to, now it's all going to work out in the future. Oftentimes, especially in this sport, you're 100% wrong. So be open to the fact that very smart people have plans sometimes, and those plans can be very, very clear. And not everything will change those. Favre was 40, Sam. Yes, but what's the price point? What's the price point on Sam?
Well, I think what Samarth is saying,
and
is
by
that
the way,
the cliff was more likely because he was 40.
It was, but I'm talking about the entire team. They ran the entire thing back, basically, aside from like one player, and it was a mistake. So assuming that 2024 assures that 25 is the same, not the same, Chris, not the same. Sports Dad is here for you to help you learn, to get you through your anger, to get you through your Christmas week frustrations, and to teach. You don't have to like me because I'm your sports dad.
Respect me.
But you have to respect me. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. On your way now. Go off.
Go to your room. Go to your room now.
No. Just a timeout. Just a little timeout.
Okay, Chuck Tritton says, Phil, can you please check into the show remotely when you're gone? We need your sanity. Judd and Declan, I love them, but it seems that the show went off the rails a little bit without you. What happened? What happened on like Monday?
Monday was fine.
We did the rankings.
Did the rankings go off the rails?
No.
Monday was fine. Wednesday we pre-recorded
the rankings.
The rankings.
Nothing
I
crazy.
need an example.
I wonder if he's talking about Thor yesterday.
Maybe could have been.
Because, I mean, Thor is very passionate. Thor is awesome. I love Thor, but he's very passionate. And so the rankings that we did for Wednesday were 100%. There was nothing controversial about that show. I'm guessing, I think he's talking about Thor's Day.
Okay. I just want to check in here. Oh, well, Robbie B says positive Phil balances sports dad.
You're more concerned than I am this week. That's false.
Yeah.
You just told people to be prepared for losing the last 2 games, which I'm fine with. But
I think there is a very realistic chance that the Vikings have won their last game.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, that's not it.
Is that like an outlandish take?
That's a hot take. No, that's a hot take. That is a hot 100%. That's a hot take.
Yeah, it's a
if
really
you
hot
take
take.
it game by game, though, they are underdogs against a really good Green Bay team.
Which, yeah.
And then, like, Detroit is a freight train on offense with injuries.
If they lose a close game on Sunday, I'm fine with it. If they get, as I think you talked about on Unchained with Royce, if they get steamrolled, though, I will be very disappointed.
Yeah, I just said I didn't predict they're going to get steamrolled.
No, but you said I could see it.
I think it's the likely scenarios are like Vikings win a close game as they always do. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I see them jumping out to a 4-touchdown gap again like they did at Lambeau.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. I agree with that.
But they also are kind of due for their own ass kicking because it hasn't happened all year yet. So, just saying, call me negative, whatever. But
this is But the thing is, KO has gone Fleckonian. This is the 1 week Packer Championship week, followed by Lion Championship week. You gotta take it week by week.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, it's fair. I'm being kind of negative here. John says so much negativity is why we lose.
I will say this to their credit. It feels like a very different place right now. The Vikings do.
It does.
It doesn't feel like they're prepared for the shoe to drop. And I'll give you one. Well, it's not small, but one thing. Don't forget, you got every field goal that you needed in Seattle in the rain. That's not very Vikings-like.
So look at you now. You're being all doom and gloom.
I'm being positive. No, I'm saying they've. I'm telling you, you got to finish the book.
I heard that and heard like,
I'm saying they do.
Probably
miss
not
that.
going to get that lucky again. Vikings.
No. I'm saying that the book is not complete yet, but the book right now feels like it might be different. I am willing. I am open. You see, this goes back to like Chris. Like Chris is just like so mad, so angry, he can't see through it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be open to the fact that this feels different.
I think
I'll
go no further. I
think yourself is one word. Keep it to yourself, Phil,
from
not yours.
The guy in the comments. Okay.
Yeah, that's just I'm trying to help out. Sports Dad's always trying to help out. Giver.
Frank says Full Strength Friday, Feedback Friday is back. Let's spend some time talking about a large segment of Vikings fans waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's a well-timed comment.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, that's me. This has been awesome. Super fun. Third most fun I've ever had watching Vikings football. 98, 2009. I expect it to end in some terrible fashion. That's fine. It's still going to be fun this Sunday. We'll see what happens. It'll be fun. He says, we all know how it's going to end. We just don't know when and we don't know how. Maybe it's a pick 6 in the first round. Yeah. Maybe we get beat by a 62-yard field goal in the divisional round. But we know the axe handle is ready to fall on our throat. Eventually, it always does, Frank said.
That's a really, so that's a sad point, but that brings up a question. If it ends with a pick 6, okay, which is plausible, like it could, and Darnold does not have a great game in the first round or in the first playoff game, do we totally change our tune then? Like what's the tune if Sam Darnold puts together, and so far so good, a regular season that for the most part's outstanding, but then he struggles in the playoffs and they lose? What's the message from the fan base then, do you think?
Well, then it's a lot easier to, if they lose, let's say they go on the road in the first round, they go at LA, and Sam throws a couple of bad picks, and the Rams beat the Vikings or something, whatever. I think then it's really easy to just break up with this summer fling, this winter fling in Sam Darnold.
One season stand.
Yeah, like it becomes now it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah,
The lights came on in the bar?
The lights came on. It's 2 a.m.
Oh. Hey, I got to go.
And yeah, then you move into trying to franchise and trade him. Like at that point, I don't know that anyone would be like, well, there's always a certain section of fans, but if that happens, it's easy. To me, the hardest part would be like he balls out and you lose a shootout because your old cornerbacks get torched. And now it's like, oh man, if you could just like keep everything together and then add a couple cornerbacks and then a right guard or something, that would be the hardest thing to deal with going into the offseason.
I hear you.
Yeah, I think that's where going into next year, regardless if it's Darnold, McCarthy, Daniel Jones, like a lot of breaks have gone the way of the Vikings this year. Like even their luck factor is high, and last year they were the unluckiest team. So, like we also sometimes get like super obsessed. Well, right now they've won 13, 14 games, and then next year they could only have won 10 games. But how does the team look? Like they're a 3-win team, less team from a year ago, but do they look better? Like, is the offense still really good? Is the offensive line fixed? So I think sometimes we get hyper obsessed with what's the result right now, and is that replicable for next season? And I think that part is like the question marks that we do have to figure out, and maybe not take the assumption that it's going to be exactly the same as this from this season.
And roster building can never stand still. I don't care how much you like a guy, it can never stand still.
Brian North, I honestly think Vikings fans are so insulated week after week. We have to hear about a small but loud minority of fans complain about Kevin O'Connell's play calling performance. I think he's talking about Chansey and Fargo here with this next. There are fans calling into Ventline talking about the run-pass balance. Go look at the season-long splits. In his 3 years in Minnesota, this is by far his most balanced play calling he has had. It's exhausting listening to fans complain because the coach didn't call a perfect game or call a run or a pass exactly how you see fit. I don't know. I think I'll trust KOC in his preparation over a guy that calls Ventline from his couch. I trust Chansey personally.
Chansey's he's really mad at KO a lot, it feels like.
But yeah, it is easy to just like watch your team exclusively, like the defensive stuff too. If you're concerned about the Vikings defense, you should be concerned about like 29 other defenses too, because everyone's giving up at least 18 points. The best defenses are still giving up 3 touchdowns a game, 18 points a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
All right, David Iverson. Unpopular opinion, treading into unknown waters with this one. Why is the story of the 1998 season centered around the missed kick? The Vikings were up by 7, still in position to win the game, even after Gary Anderson missed that kick. Shouldn't we focus on the defense folding when we needed them the most? This year's team wins that game if the situation was the same. Dare I say, they were soft when adversity hit them in the face.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. They were also, if I remember by that point in the game, very banged up. But the defense had a bad day. Like if you go back and watch that, which during the pandemic we did and talked about it, which was really hard to do at times. But if you go back and watch that, there are several factors. Dennis Green taking the knee. Cunningham didn't have, as I recall, a great game. Moss dropped a ball or two. Robert Griffith, I believe, dropped a pick in the end zone. The Gary Anderson miss is just the poster child.
Yeah.
It's like if you've got to pick a snapshot of what went wrong.
It's that.
Because yes, they would have gone up by 10, but he hadn't missed all year, and it's just such an easy thing to glom onto. Robert Smith going out of bounds to stop the clock. I mean, there's a ton of factors that cost them a game that they should have won.
Yeah, go ahead, Dex.
Jessica Nagel says on the YouTube channel, I sold Gary Anderson a pair of skis back in 2003 when I worked at SportsMart. I wanted to kick him out of the store.
That would have been fitting, Jessica, if you had kicked him wide left out of the store.
Wow. We did do an official pie chart of blame for that game, which you can find in the Purple Daily. There's a vault section, Purple Daily throwback episodes. Jim Halverson says, here's a question I've not heard discussed. Is there a chance Daniel Jones will be the backup quarterback for Darnold in the playoffs this year?
Boy, I don't think so, but it's an interesting premise. It would if this makes sense, it would sort of be un-KO like O'Connell. O'Connell's pretty what's the word? Loyal to guys. So like and look, I mean, he trusts Mullins as a backup, but it's an interesting talker. But I have no idea where Jones is at. Like he's on the practice squad right now. He's not on the 53. But here's my question about Jones, and I have no clue. Where's he at, like, mentally?
I don't think there's.
So I don't think so.
If they had to put someone in, I mean, Nick Mullins would be put in.
Yeah.
To me, 100 times out of 100. Even Brett Rippon.
It's pretty well. If you got to go to the backup, it's probably done.
Well,
like
I think you would want the guy that, I know that Mullins has flaws, but by the way, Daniel Jones does too. Like, obviously, there's a reason why the Giants cut him. But do you want the guy that just got here a month ago and is learning a system and settling in and maybe working on his fragile, broken confidence? Or do you want a guy that has zero confidence issues, slinging the ball all over the place in Nick Mullins?
Right.
A guy that just comes in cold on a 3rd and 17 in Chicago and completes a first down pass.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say Nick Mullins is the first guy up.
My guess is this was talked about when Jones signed to the practice squad here too. I'm willing to bet that he was told you will not play.
Come
like
on,
we're not
going
to try it. Like unless
the
everyone
catering's
gets
great.
hurt.
Just chill out.
Just
We'll
chill
give you a
out.
little headset.
Watch what I do. Watch the miracles that I work, and then
The catering's
we'll
great.
consider 2025. The catering is great.
I bet
Phil's
it is.
not wrong.
Yeah.
The catering there is fantastic.
Have you ever? You're not allowed to sample out there, right? Media can't.
They actually serve something on Wednesdays, so I've had some stuff. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet the players get the best stuff, though. I'm willing to bet the players get the real good stuff.
Yeah. And then Joseph Cheek, we got one more here. If the Vikings win the Super Bowl this year, do you guys think Justin Jefferson already takes the crown as the best and most important athlete in Minnesota sports history?
Woo.
I know there's Kirby Puckett with the 2 Twins World Championships,
It's a hell of a last question.
but I think a Vikings championship would mean much more to this city than anything that's happened before. And Jefferson would be,
Probably.
I mean, especially if he plays really well in the game, and gets the game-winning touchdown. Because Puckett, it wasn't just that Puckett was the best player on championship teams. It was that Puckett robbed a ball off the plexiglass, hit a walk-off homer to extend the World Series into Game 7.
Yes. Yeah, I think it'd be really hard to top Kirby. 2 World Series, to your point, 91, Game 6, won that game by himself, but, largely did things by himself to win that game, to extend it. My inclination, unless Jefferson did something just incredible, would be no, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah. So it'd be a fun list to update.
Yeah.
Because it would largely depend, because Jack Morris was a Twin for 1 year.
Yeah.
But because he delivered the greatest pitching performance in baseball history, a 10-inning complete game shutout, Game 7 World Series,
Yeah.
he is regarded as one of the most important athletes in Minnesota sports history. If he pitches like 6 innings, gives up 3 runs, and they win a different way, no one really talks about Jack Morris.
Yeah.
Nope.
So if Sam Darnold has a fourth quarter comeback in the Super Bowl, throws for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks,
Yeah.
Sam Darnold becomes the most important athlete in Minnesota sports history.
If the Vikings win in 2009 against the Saints and Favre wins the Super Bowl, is Favre that guy then?
Yes,
Right.
he
He
is.
is.
And then his jersey is in the rafters at the stadium.
Statues, everything.
Statue. We can't even build a statue of Bud Grant, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of behind on like jersey retirements and statues.
Like, what are we
around here at
doing?
Vikings.
Like, how do we not have a statue of Bud Grant? God rest his soul.
Or they wait. Yeah, they should have done it before he passed away, right?
Yeah,
like
outside the stadium.
What are we waiting for?
I don't know. And they've never taught. I mean, Bud's got a statue in Winnipeg.
Yeah, this feels like an oversight. Who's on the statue committee?
Well, that's the thing is, I don't even know. I should ask. Like, what would it take? Like, why isn't there a statue
Are they worried about a Dwayne
statues
Wade
are awesome.
situation where it just comes out looking nothing like Bud Grant?
Well, then make sure it doesn't. Like that.
But that's like the most isn't that like the most prominent arena statue company right now? The Dwayne Wade
Well,
company.
then they should have sent it back and said, "Do better." But like the Twins, right? The Twins, for all the Twins take guff and get made fun of, the Twins do a great job with statues.
Brady says, "How about a statue
Yeah,
of Bud
that's
in
the
his
one I-
polo
You know what?
shirt minus 9
Brady, I
degrees?
love that.
Oh, it'd be awesome."
Absolutely. Told Roger Goodell, "Hold my jacket."
Oh man, that was iconic.
It really was.
All right, if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and the like button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Over on the audio side, you can help us keep growing this incredible community by giving us 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple and Spotify. So, boys, we got picks officially tomorrow on the feeds, and then the biggest game in a long time, Vikings-Packers, 3:25 kickoff. Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
Tom
Kurt
Brady coming to town.
and Brady, yeah. Brady, ill prepared too.
The last time Brady was in that stadium, probably, right? Did he come? I think the last time he was in that stadium was for a Super Bowl loss.
I think that's right because they went to New England in 2018.
And Mac Jones was here for the Thanksgiving
Mac
night game,
Jones
right?
Yeah.
was- yeah. So I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Super
that was
Bowl
Super Bowl.
loss. He tried to catch a pass. It was really pathetic.
That's right. Forgot about that play. All right, he's the sports dad, Judd. He is mustached executive producer, Declan, and I am Phil. And we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.